Hello and welcome once again, all you wonderful people, you wonderful, simple people. Back at it again with another episode of the Fantasy Simpletons, a fantasy football show. I am your host, Kyle Fridlin. Join with me once again is my brother and co-host, Jacob Fridlin.
Hey.
How are we doing on this beautiful day?
Doing well, man.
Doing pretty
well.
good?
Yep.
That's
another
crazy,
day,
Jake.
Another
day, another dollar?
Another day, another dollar. Another day, another time we could talk about football. So
yeah, always a great day when we can talk about the greatest sport in the world, American football.
Yep.
You know, Jake, I was also watching the SummerSlam show the other day.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when I was talking to you? This was in private, but remember when I was talking to you earlier about Brock Lesnar being like, "There's no way he's ever coming back."
Yeah.
Because of all the stuff he was involved in, all the lawsuits that he was in.
Vince McMahon.
He showed up at the end of the show last night.
Really?
He did. He showed up at the end of the main event. And I don't know whether to feel excited or appalled that he's back. Like, genuinely, because I think I told you there's no chance he's ever coming back.
Yeah, you did.
And now he's back. So
that's funny.
But that's just what the world has come to now, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, he must be in good standing with.
You think
guys.
So? He must have been cleared of something.
Yeah, and he's not in jail or anything. So
yeah, that's good. So, good for old Brock. But at the end of the day, this is a fantasy football podcast, and we still have more divisions to break down.
Mm-hmm.
We are almost done. We are talking about the NFC South today.
Yep.
And without further ado, Jake, would you like to take it away?
Yeah. Going into the first team, we're going to talk about the Carolina Panthers. This team is in transition with, some young talent and I think a new direction for the offense. Yeah, I think from a fantasy perspective, pretty exciting looking team. Looking at some of the guys they have here. To start it off, we could kind of talk about Bryce Young. And Kyle, let me ask you, what do you think about Bryce Young heading into this year? And I don't know, is he a sleeper in your opinion or someone to avoid in fantasy?
He's definitely a sleeper. I've had a lot of thoughts on Bryce Young for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
And to be fair, maybe we are. I'm a little Bryce Young biased. I've always been a big fan of his.
Yeah.
Especially when we got the chance to meet him ourselves.
Yeah, we actually, that's a story.
We did get the chance to meet him before. He's very nice, very down to earth. I don't like how he's younger than me. And he's a multi-million-dollar man, the face of an NFL franchise, and he's younger than me. Is not the best feeling in the world. But I watched him very closely last season. I watched him at the lowest points when he got benched back in week 2. And when he came back in later into the season with Andy Dalton, there was like a steady improvement of his game. He looked more and more confident as the season went on, even with like kind of a lack of a lot of true weapons around him. You could see it. There was a huge statistical jump. He was averaging pretty much around 15, 16, 17 fantasy points a game. Especially in that last game of the year was easily the best game of his career, where he threw for 4 touchdowns, ran for 5. That play where he threw the touchdown, I think it was to Tommy Tremble, and he just like straight up turned around and just did this before he even caught the pass.
Yeah.
That was like a very like NBA Steph Curry type of moment.
That was yeah. That's like him
so cool.
Back in college, the confidence looked like it had just resurged,
Yeah.
Because, we can't forget he was the number 1 overall draft pick in 2022, so
He's an incredibly
That's
smart player.
yeah.
You can tell he's been picking it up a lot more. This
Mhm.
is a big season for him in the second year as head coach Dave Canales. With him, he has a new number one receiving option that they
Mhm.
drafted in uh, T-Mac,
Yep.
Tet McMillan. I'm not going to say the full name. I think it's Tetaroa, but
Tetro McMillan.
coming out of the draft, it depends on who you talk to, but to me, from what I saw, he seemed like a very safe, very much like a prototypical number one wideout.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah. Mhm.
anytime you see a wide receiver, there's a lot of great stats out there of wide receivers being drafted in the top 10, going on to become very reliable fantasy
Yeah.
wide receivers, very good fantasy performers. And he's not too expensive at the moment, from what I see. Uh, I believe he's in somewhere you can draft him in the 20s or 30s as a wide receiver.
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, and this was a very running back heavy draft, so anytime that happens, wide receivers are generally more slept on, but there are stud wide receivers that always come out of drafts, even when they're a little bit lower on, um, on draft boards. Um, Tech was the number 1 wide receiver going into the draft, so, and for good reason, he's got
Yeah.
amazing hands that he showed off in college, great long speed, he's a super tall guy. Um, I I see a lot of comparisons with him and Justin Jefferson, honestly, in
Yeah.
terms of, like, catch radius. They're the type of players that you could just throw the ball to and they'll catch whatever is in their way, and that's, like, so clear looking at his college tapes. So I and the videos that are dropping at him of him on, in training camp, dude, just so exciting. So exciting
Looking
for this team and Bryce Young,
yeah.
you know? Mhm.
He's looking very, very good right now.
Yeah.
And I think he might start off slow. I think he's gonna really pick it up later into the season.
Mhm.
I think he's risky. Still, I think drafting any rookie wide receiver is risky in general, no matter where they're going, because you never know exactly what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
But he's not being overdrafted too much. Unlike like last season where we had like Marvin Harrison being drafted in the first 2 rounds on average of fantasy football drafts. You don't have to risk everything by going after T Mac if
Mhm.
that's what you want to do.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't wanna oversell him because, the team is a bit shaky. Um, it's shown in the past that this team is just interesting. The coaching staff still isn't like sure that Bryce Young is their guy. He still needs to prove himself. And and Tech looks good, but he I don't think his route running is like super crisp. I just think
Mm.
he's got great hands. I don't from his college tapes, it didn't look like he's like the best separator, but he's tall and he's got hands, so he's like a 50-50 guy. But I see it going well if everything falls into place. So
He's a
yeah,
big addition to what is a very young wide receiver room outside of one man. But you could argue this is probably depending on what T Mac can do this season or not. In years past, most reliable receiver for Bryce Young, uh, big ol' Adam Thielen, all reliable 34-year-old Adam Thielen, playing forever, refuses to die, and honestly, I think he is in Dynasty. He's not seen as a very favorable target because you look at the age and like ugh, but
Mhm.
I think he's a lot. more underrated than people give him credit for.
Mm.
I
Oh
think
yeah.
people will discredit him no matter what because of his age. But I
Yeah.
remember last season when he came back from that injury that took him out for the first half of the year. He was really rolling with Bryce Young in a lot of games, and he was a very reliable fantasy option. If he kept up that pace throughout the whole season, he would have been in the top 20, top 25 wide receivers of that year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's still coming in, and even if
Hmm.
he like falls to like wide receiver 2 of this team, I think he's still going to be a reliable target and someone that, at least within redrafts, you could consider either near the very end of your draft, or he'll definitely be on the waiver wire.
Yeah. Yeah, dude. I think he's always been an underrated option, and I don't know what it is or why exactly. Because he's always been so reliable. He's literally like a Cooper Cup. You know,
Yeah.
he's just such a good route runner. He's extremely consistent. Like I don't know. I, I just think he's so good for any QB. You know that he's going to be open and he's going to get the ball. It's as simple as that with Adam Thielen. And you said big Adam Thielen. I would say Lil Adam
Lil
Thielen
Adam
'cause
too.
he's kind of a small guy.
I
So,
was trying to emphasize more the ol', like big ol' Adam
oh, I
Thielen,
see what you're saying.
like
Yeah.
ol' reliable.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, definitely not the biggest guy in the room.
Hmm.
I think with the other options, there's not a huge amount to say. Xavier Legette looked a lot last season like he's not a complete wide receiver yet. Very much a down the field threat using his speed. But he had chances to make big plays last season, and he kind of uh, just didn't quite hit on those
Hmm.
moments. So I want to see if he can hit that development in year 2. Jalen Coker, an undrafted free agent last year,
Yeah.
started getting some like underground dynasty hype.
Hmm.
With the drafting at T Mac, maybe that's muted a little bit, but if he can continue to develop, maybe he overtakes a couple steps and like takes the spot that Adam Thielen's in.
Sure.
And then Tavion Sanders, uh, he might be a good option. I liked him coming out of college. He was a high draft pick in the second round, but he's more of a wait and see. He was just outside of the top 20 last year. And with all
Hmm.
the extra options within their wide receiver core, I don't expect anything big right away.
Yeah. Yeah. I like him, and I think um he's definitely a receiving threat. I've seen that he's not much of a pass blocker. They don't really use him as like a blocking tight end, and he wasn't really known as that in college with the Longhorns. So it just seems like they have a lot of good uh intriguing receiving options, you know, moving forward this season. And there's actually a deep sleeper too they picked up in this year's draft as well in the later rounds. But I think it's Jimmy Horn Jr.
Oh yeah,
And
one of their receivers.
yeah, and I think he's looking to be more of a punt kick returner, but he's been kind of showing out in camp. So, you know, maybe competing for that wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 spot. Um, but yeah, it looks like a pretty crowded room with
Yeah.
everyone here. So,
And then we'll just finish it off real quick with talking about Chuba Hubbard.
mm,
Personally, I loved Chuba Hubbard last season. I thought he was a standout. I didn't expect to see him really, essentially, when he was given that opportunity, he took it and ran with it. Was seen around top 5, top 10 running back in the league last season, and poor Jonathan Brooks. Dude, no, I feel so bad for him.
yeah, I do too.
Getting
Gosh, yeah,
drafted
been a while.
highly, but he was coming off a torn ACL, missing most of
Mhm.
that year. Came in immediately, retore his ACL on the same knee. For anyone that doesn't know, he's going to miss the 2025 season. So Chuba Hubbard predicts he's going to be. I think he's going to be a very safe, reliable RB2 with Rico Dowdle as a really nice stash option if Chuba were to get hurt.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I like the running back room.
That all makes sense to me, but I'm excited to see what this team can do.
Yeah, me too. Should be interesting.
Oh my gosh, man! Wouldn't it be? You know, so every now and then I think we should have guests on this show. Man, if we ever got Bryce Young, it would never happen. Like it would never happen, but
never.
It would never happen. Never.
I mean,
but
never say never, bro. It probably
never
wouldn't.
say never.
But we'd have like friend connections. But anyways,
yeah. I'd welcome him with open arms. If he'd love to do it, I would love to have him. Yeah. But we can move on here real quick.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons here, which we are moving into a new quarterback for this team, quarterback Michael Penix. One of the craziest draft moves I have seen. One of the most unexpected draft moves when he was drafted by the Falcons at number 8 last year. I'm a bit biased towards Michael Penix, mostly because he got me a lot of money. But outside of that moment in life, he's very, for the moments that he came in last season, he came in near the end of the season, played the last 4 games, and while statistically he didn't look great, I feel like if you actually watch the games and watch him play, he made a lot of very good throws. He was very clutch when they needed him the most. There were multiple times where in the last 2 minutes, he performed like really good 2-minute drills and put his team in a position to win the games. 2 straight overtime losses. So it's not all on him, but I see him as someone with a lot of potential and a lot of upside.
Yeah, I agree. He's kind of viewed as like a JJ McCarthy this year, you know. We didn't, I mean, maybe a little, well,
I disagree a little bit.
Higher. You disagree? I know we got to see more of him last year, obviously.
Yeah.
And he played well in the couple games, right? That he was in, but no, I just mean in terms of like this is really the year. This is really their rookie year, you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean by that end.
And prove themselves on their team. So I like Michael. Yeah, I think it's hard to be against someone who was so good in college. You know, and all of the wide receivers and on the team and Kyle Pitts, like their stock is all going up because of Michael Penix, I think, and what he can do with the football. So it is pretty exciting going into this year to watch how they do. And yeah.
I think to pick up on what you said earlier, when I was saying I disagreed with the comparison to JJ McCarthy, I find it so interesting because they also competed in the national championship against each other when it was Washington versus Michigan. But I think stylistically they're different quarterbacks. Michael Penix has shown in the past he's a gunslinger. He's a classic set it up, load up the shot, take the shot gunslinger. And I think with that, you're going to see him throwing it deep a lot, throwing a lot of intermediate passes. He's going to be looking for guys like Drake London, going to be looking for guys like Darnell Mooney, even Kyle Pitts, who does a lot of those deeper routes that he catches. I think you're going to see him take a lot of risks, but he looks, from what I've seen in the few games they played, very accurate. Got to get that out again.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got an arm. You know, that's one of the biggest things about him. Is that he's got that slinging arm, and he looks so good. I haven't heard a ton of buzz on him this offseason.
No.
Personally. Honestly, not a buzz on too many of the Falcons guys, but maybe I'm just not looking at them too much because I don't have any of these guys on my dynasty team. But you know, yeah, I like him. Lots of young talent. I think they could be good, and with the running back room, Bijan being potentially the number one
Oh,
running back coming into this
oh,
season,
oh, he's so good.
dude.
Oh my gosh, he's so good.
Yeah.
And he doesn't always have the he's not as flashy as Saquon. He's not going out and getting the 70-yard rushing touchdowns, but if you just watch him play, he might be the best. He's just every time he gets the ball in his hands,
Yeah.
he's so quick and he's so agile and he's so impossible to tackle. Every run is a good run. Every play is a highlight reel. He is very deservedly, because of his consistency,
Yeah.
a very safe number 1 overall pick in fantasy if you want to go running back first.
Yeah. I agree.
And that leaves Tyler Algier in a spot of he's one of the best running back stashes in the league.
Handcuff options. Yep.
He's a great handcuff option because we've seen it from him in years past. He's got that dog in him. He can show that he can really play.
Yeah.
So he's always been a guy I've had on my dynasty team for a little bit now, of just hold on to him just in case, break of emergency.
Yeah, exactly. And I like that strategy of, lately I've been getting into this, if you have the number 1 option on a team, because running backs get their injury risk is so high, why not just try to get the handcuff option? Why not get the RB2 on the team? Because you really never know.
Keep yourself
safe. It's a long
safe.
season, and there's a lot that can happen.
I think Drake London, a lot of people have been pointing to this, and I think this is very interesting. In the few games that Michael Penix played, Drake London got a lot of targets. That he got a lot of targets from Michael Penix, and with Darnell Mooney, I believe, who was very good last season, but I believe he might have gotten an injury recently. That it's undetermined exactly how bad it's going to be, if it's going to keep him out for any sort of period of time. But if that's the case, it's going to leave this wide receiver room wide open for Drake London.
Yeah. Yeah, Drake London is great, dude. And his stock has been rising every season, I feel like.
Yeah.
Just getting better and better, getting to who he should be, because he was drafted as a number 1 overall pick, or not. What am I saying? Not number 1 overall, but he was a first round draft pick. And
I think he was the same draft pick as Bijan. He was an 8th pick in the draft, just like Michael Penix too. These guys are all 8th picks.
Yeah. Wow. Actually, that's crazy.
So yeah, Falcons, you're consistently mediocre.
Yeah.
You might need to think about changing that.
Right. But no, I just think Drake's just been going up every season. So hopefully this is his stardom breakout season. And for that to happen, Michael just needs to hit. But we'll see. And that could be said about, well, hopefully that could be the same for Kyle Pitts. That dude.
You said Drake London goes up and up every year. Kyle Pitts goes down and down every season. Bro. I mean, if you haven't figured it out yet, and stop taking the risk on him.
The hype is there every offseason. They're like, oh, this is his year. This offseason, they're like, oh, he could actually have a chance. It's like, okay, well, he could. But I don't know, man. That dude looks like
we've been making so many excuses for him for years. It's always been, oh, he just doesn't have the quarterback. Oh, he doesn't have the right offensive system. Oh, he's been hurt.
Yeah.
Oh, now it's like without Jonnu Smith around. Remember that storyline?
Dude.
He's had every reason every year for us to believe, like, okay, maybe this is finally the time he puts it together.
Oh,
They ask you how you are,
But
you
maybe
just have to say that you're fine when you're not really
Yeah.
fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
you beat me to it. But honestly, I was gonna play this one.
Everybody do the flop.
We just have to accept that's what he is. He was taken 4th overall in a draft. He was supposed to be a generational tight end, a generational play. This is what Brock Bowers is. Kyle Pitts is what Brock Bowers was supposed to be.
Mhm.
Or
So-
is
oh,
it the
yeah,
other way
for
around?
sure.
Brock Bowers is what Kyle Pitts was supposed to be. He was supposed to
Oh
be.
yeah, it's the other way.
Yeah. I'll get it at some point. But he was supposed to be the generational, game-breaking tight end that
Mhm.
couldn't be covered. He's too fast. He's too big. He's just a guy. And I think that's the most damning thing you can say is that he's just a guy. He's just a tight end.
He just doesn't look very crisp, man. Like his routes, he doesn't look fast in the NFL. See, and that's the thing. The NFL is different than college. So I think from what seasons past have shown, for Kyle Pitts is just that he's not, not everyone's the guy. And
Yeah.
they might have to move on from him if this man can't do anything. And I think this year is the year that he really needs to prove himself, because his contract will next year be his contract year.
They gave him a 5th-year option, so this is the 5th-year option.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't think they're bringing him back. I'd be shocked if they did. And maybe when you mentioned it earlier, not a lot of people talking about the Falcons. I think Kyle Pitts is emblematic of that. Of this team has just sort of been like untapped hype. Every year they seem to have some sort of hype around them where it's like this is the year, or it's like this is finally they're gonna make it on their potential, and they haven't been able to do that. I think this is a breaking point here of if this is not the season, then they just might not find that season.
Yeah.
And this team is just they are who we thought they were. Because I'm not trying to fool for it again. But I think that's enough talk that we can have on the Falcons here. Yeah. And next up, we're going to be talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah, man. These guys, I think they surprised a lot of people last season. They've really been like, honestly, congrats to the coaching staff for picking the guys that they've picked up here. Baker Mayfield coming from nothing and making him something, and Bucky, a later round draft pick rising up to become the guy. It's looking like I don't know. I think they're making great moves. And the question is, like, could they keep the momentum going?
Yeah.
In the NFC South, like, I don't know. I think they can, man. They look nice.
It's an offense full of studs.
Yeah.
I think it's fair when mentioning this offense. I think it's fair. There's a lot to talk about. I think it's fair to talk about Baker first.
Yeah.
Like, what a career arc this guy has gone on. And last season was just like the magnum opus. He looked incredible last season. He was probably the best. He was close with Joe Burrow as like one of the best pure passers in the league. I believe he had either 40 or over 40 touchdowns, which is definitely number 1 in the league. But he was absolutely incredible last season. Some people think he might have a bit of like a slump after when you have a season that good. Very possible, especially with the change of their offensive coordinator leaving to become the Jaguars head coach in Liam Cohen. But Baker's had a change at offensive coordinator every season since he's came into the NFL. So a change of offenses has never been different to him. It's never fazed him.
Yeah.
And he's currently being drafted on average as the 7th quarterback in average in drafts, and I think that's pretty fair. That's like a
Oh,
fair
yeah.
spot to put him in.
Totally. I think he's their franchise guy, bro. I've
Yeah.
heard that, the coaching staff wants to keep him into his retirement. And I think that would be a great look for the Bucks because yeah, he's really turned this team around. And I'm a huge fan of Baker. He's a bit older, but I think
Yeah.
he's got the arm and it doesn't look like he's slowing down. So I love this guy in redrafts. I think he's great. And even in Dynasty, he's a great QB1 option.
He's a great guy to keep around for now. I think they're currently working on an extension for him to keep him around for a longer amount of time, and I think he very much deserves that.
Yep.
But we should talk about what is a massive help to him this season is going to be his enormous wide receiver core of just pure talent.
Dude, so good.
I think it would be fair to talk about first the recently paid Chris Godwin, who signed a 3-year, $72 million deal over the offseason, which was very surprising. I didn't think they were going to keep him around. But he's coming in now, still recovering from that previous injury. Currently on the PUP list right now, there's a chance he could miss the first few games of the season. Whether how many that's going to be is still undetermined. What would you say you would put into like the stock of Chris Godwin? What level would you draft him on? Because last year, before he got hurt, he was at the very top.
He popped off last year.
He was popping off. He was unstoppable.
He was looking like he was going to be top 5 wide receivers on the year if he kept that up. But before he got hurt, hurting his value last season. But yeah, I think with the contract, it shows how much they're wanting to use him moving forward. I thought Jalen McMillan was going to maybe step up and kind of, transition him out, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen, at least right now. I mean, dude, I'm high on Chris Godwin. I think he's had the time to recover. I think he's risky just because he does tend to get injured.
Yeah.
Multiple seasons he's had injuries, so I think it's safe to maybe get him and one of his one of the other wide receivers like Jalen McMillan, who you can get for fairly cheap now, who killed it last season, might I add, in the absence of Chris Godwin. So yeah, I like him moving forward. I think why not take a chance on him? He could be great. And what about Mike Evans? Like every year,
Mike Evans,
dude, every year he's like the Derrick Henry of wide receivers, I feel like. Okay.
I think he's so fascinating because a lot of people talk about like Hall of Fame, to what level of a Hall of Famer is he? Is he a Hall of Famer? How long will it take for him to make the Hall of Fame? Because he's never been like, I don't think there's ever been a point in his career where he's like seen as one of the best receivers in the league at any point. And I mean like top 3, top 5. Usually there's always like a crop that's like just above him. But you cannot deny his consistency.
No.
He's the immortal Mike Evans.
Yeah.
Now after tying Jerry Rice's record, he is looking to now break Jerry Rice's record heading into the season. And if he stays healthy, he's going to do it. He's going to do it. I don't know to what extent he is. I think there's a ceiling with this many weapons to how big he can be. Because currently, right now, looking at him being drafted as wide receiver 18, so like seen as a wide receiver 2, I think that's fair. But I'm sort of looking at, try to look into some of these other options on the team as well.
I think the youth is undeniable. Like, it's just tough because they do have Jalen, who they drafted last year, and he's great. I think he's a great talent, and can fill the slot of the spots of Chris and Mike in their types of routes that they run. He's
Yeah.
kind of an all across the board guy, and then they picked up Emeka Mbuka this year. In was it the first round? Is he a first rounder?
He was 19th pick. A lot of people said he's
Yeah.
like a little bit of everything. He's kind of an
Yeah.
all-rounder wide receiver.
Yeah, heavy slot, played heavy slot in college, but yeah, he's a great wide receiver. He played about 5 years in college,
Yeah.
and every year that he was starting, he was one of the best players on Ohio State, which says a lot because every top tier Ohio State guy that's come out in recent years.
The legendary
a
Ohio State
star.
wide receiver room.
Oh yeah, they're like, it's what they're known for at this point. Is producing just awesome wide receivers.
It's
So,
him. It's Jackson
him,
Smith, Garrett
yep,
Wilson,
Jensen, there's Chris
Marvin
Olave.
Harrison, Chris Olave, Marvin Harrison. All these top end talent
So
wide
good.
receivers.
Yeah, and those are they're like all wide receiver ones on their team.
Yeah,
It's
it's
so
pretty
crazy.
wild. That's what they're known for now. They're the wide receiver development factory.
Yeah. So I think that makes this receiving room really crowded, given how kind of all of these guys can fill a role, I think Emeka Mbuka could take over for Jalen McMillan's wide receiver 3 role that he held last year,
Yeah.
just because of how many different things he could do. But I think it's great for the future of the franchise, because Mike and Chris are getting a little bit older. So yeah, it's pretty exciting.
It's great. It's great for their team. It's great for their long term. Jalen McMillan, I think it would be unfair to not mention the run he went on at the end of last season. I believe it was 5
Really good.
games. He had 5 games where it was a touchdown in every game and around 5 receptions for around 50 yards.
Yeah.
5 receptions, 50 yards, and a touchdown for 5 straight games to end the year.
Mhm.
With this crowded room, even with the injury to Chris Godwin, I don't quite see that happening. But, considering what he did, he could be a guy that they bring in where he gets a couple plays a game and they'll result in touchdowns.
Yeah, I could easily see that. I think a lot of people are sleeping on Jalen McMillan just because they drafted Emeka Mbuka, and I would agree with you. I would say don't sleep on him. Like, he could easily fill in for any of these guys if they get injured and be a star in the league. So
Yeah.
and yeah, I think they'll use him a few times a game. I don't see why they wouldn't. So yeah.
Draft Egbuka if you have your dynasty draft. If you've already done it and you got Egbuka, you got a guy. You got a guy that's going to be, I think, a stud going forward. And then Cade Otton, who I really liked last season, but he kind of seems like where Dallas Goedert was, of he's situational. He needs some injuries to happen on this team to show off that play or that value that he can have.
Yeah, it's tough when you got such a nice wide receiver core. But I think he's a fine middle of the pack tight end. Maybe lower middle,
He's a waiver wire snag.
Yeah, I think he's a fine waiver wire snag.
Yeah.
Just because of how pass heavy this team is,
Now I'm going to bring this very quickly to one of the most hyped up players in fantasy football right now, Bucky Irving. Looked great last season. Started off behind Rachaad White, ended up easily taking his role as like the main primary guy, even though Rachaad White still does like sort of a third down pass catching role, which he always should have done. That's why he excelled at the most.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of hype going into this season that he's going to take big RB1 numbers, a lot of carries, that the ground game is going to focus heavily on him. There's a huge amount of hype that he can reach that top tier of running backs. Do you think that's where he's going to hit this season, or do you think there might be a chance that Bucky's a bit overhyped?
Well, I think it's definitely possible. I think it's possible because of how he showed out last season. He kind of, he didn't just step in because Rachaad wasn't doing much. He got some chances and he went off. Like, he just looks so nice. He's very shifty.
Yeah.
He's a little speedy.
Powerful.
He's like, I think he's like a perfect 3-down back, man. And a fine pass catcher. So yeah, I think he's definitely gonna be the RB1 in this offense moving forward. Just because he's he gets more yards per carry than Rachaad. Rachaad is, like you were saying, just more of a pass catching back. And that's, but as far as getting the run game on the ground going, Bucky is very elusive. And I like his tape a lot. So I'm kind of high on Bucky. And I'm interested in seeing where he can go given a full year.
Yeah.
Because he kind of came onto this scene last season, like kind of almost mid-season, So I'm excited to see what he's got. I would draft him, and I think he's going a bit lower, than a lot of these other guys.
He's going top 10. I think I just checked. He's going on
10.
average. He's going on average number 9.
Dang.
And I am not saying don't draft Bucky Irving. That is not what I'm saying at all. I think he's a very talented back. I just see in some places that he's being hyped up a bit too much.
I can see that.
Don't get lost in all the hype. Don't get lost in the sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Take him with a calm mind. I think he will be a very good running back and a good to maybe lower end running back 1 is what I see him at right now. But if he fills that potential, the sky's the ceiling.
Yeah.
We've been talking about a lot of teams with a lot of potential, young teams, a lot of upside. And now we're going to the New Orleans Saints. And this team is not any of that right now. This is kind of a very weak setup for them. And I guess the first thing I want to talk about is Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara is sort of he can be a lot of different things depending on what you think of him. He could be underrated. He could be overrated. He could be a great player. He could be a terrible player. I think he's one of those players where all depends on your perspective of him and where he is at this point in his career, because he's not exactly the same Alvin Kamara he was in his prime. What do you take out of Alvin Kamara, Jake? What are your thoughts on him as a player?
I think he's great in terms of as much as this as bad as this team is, he's like their saving grace. Okay.
Yeah.
When you look at the Saints fantasy wise, there really isn't too much to look at outside of Kamara and now the resurgence of potentially Chris Olave. So I don't know. I've always liked Kamara. He's an amazing pass catching back, and in his prime, he was so good. But dude, honestly, every year he's done pretty well. You know,
Yeah, I can agree to that.
he did really well last year. He's one of those guys that like, I think it's crazy that these types of players exist, but I guess, it's a football thing maybe. But he like last year he was running, he like played a full game even though he like broke a bone or something. He like you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, he's tough. He's one of a few. Well, a lot of NFL players are tough, but that's tough.
It's just kind of wild to think about. And so there's some running backs that like if something happens to them, like a little thing, then they'll be out. But that's why I think he's different. And he just always produces, man, every year. Like I drafted who's that guy? I drafted his backup,
Keandre Miller.
Yeah. I was blanking on his name, but I drafted Keandre thinking, Alvin's old, and this was like 2 years ago. Alvin's old. Keandre could easily step in here and do some stuff. And that hasn't been the case. I think mainly because Alvin just it's his backfield, man.
It's
and
his
it's
backfield.
going to be until he either leaves or gets a serious injury. So
I think it's fair to
I
say
like
though
him for
that
this year a lot, personally.
I think just to point out the Keandre Miller side of things, I think it would be unfair to say because he has had a very injury riddled career that a lot of injuries have kept him off the field before he had that chance. But yeah, when he was out, they just kind of fed it to Kamara because they didn't have anything else.
Yeah.
Especially when they had Derek Carr.
Right.
When Derek Carr was the quarterback. And Alvin, look, he'll be undervalued to a certain extent because of his age, because there's no hype around the Saints. If you want to take him, he'll probably do fine, but he is getting to that point where any season he could just hit a wall.
Yeah.
And
that's true. The upside is though that the quarterback room looks very bad. And so they could easily, they probably will just feed him the ball. So I don't see him doing any worse than he did last year, and he did great last year. So personally, I'm in on this guy.
And that's a good way to turn our attention right to this quarterback room, which I think it's not unfair to say this is probably up there as maybe the worst quarterback room in the league.
Oh, yeah.
On paper. We have Spencer Rattler, who was a 5th-round rookie the year before. He had some chance to play last season, had some chances, didn't fit the part. He did not look like he was ready to be on the field. He struggled a lot, and it immediately rang like alarm bells when they drafted Tyler Shuck in the 2nd round of like maybe something was up with Carr or this injury might be worse than they thought. Turns out it probably was, and Derek Carr decided to retire. Good on Derek Carr. Hey, good on Derek Carr. He's he's been a very good quarterback throughout his career. Never like one of the top guys, but if I were an NFL quarterback, I would love to have that career of a constant starter. But as far as it goes, a lot of people look at Tyler Shuck's experience he had in college. He's a 25-year-old, 26-year-old rookie?
Yeah, he played 7 years in college.
He played 7 years. What are they doing? At some point, you'd think they'd have an age restriction or something where it's like, okay, maybe you shouldn't keep playing as a starting quarterback. So now he's just entered the draft. Now he just got drafted. And people are saying like, oh, but he played well, and maybe with his experience, he could not be as bad as everyone thinks he's going to be. He's currently not beating out Spencer Rattler. Spencer Rattler is starting to to win out in camp. And I don't think it matters who's starting here. It's going to be a rough go for anyone under center on this team.
Oh yeah. And dude, there were some games last year that Spencer Rattler started when Derek because Derek got injured, that were kind of the most disgusting games I think I've seen. Dude, in terms of like Spencer looked so bad. I'm kind of surprised.
It was unwatchable.
Dude, I'm kind of surprised that he's still on the team. But I understand that he is only still on the team because he had a stellar
emotional damage.
Just because he
found a spot.
Spencer Rattler had a stellar high school career. Okay. One of the best high school careers for a quarterback in Arizona's history. You know, he came out of Arizona, and then he was a sleeper in college, right? Anyways, I know. I think they're just holding on to him because he could be something, but man,
the odds are not high. They
not.
are not in his favor.
Dude, they're not. And they really should have drafted an earlier quarterback. They could have had Shedeur Sanders or someone decent. Not that Tyler Shuck isn't, but yeah, he's not looking great in camp. So
it screams a team waiting for next season. This feels like a rebuilding year.
Yeah.
Kellen Moore, who knows? Maybe Kellen Moore, their new coach. He's been sort of seen as like an offensive guru for every now and again.
Mm-hmm.
I think his name was hotter a couple years ago, but you know, maybe he might have something planned.
Hopefully.
I feel bad for the receivers they're throwing to. Chris Olave. I mean, if we want to try to see who the new like Terry McLaurin is before Terry McLaurin got his guy, Chris Olave is the new Terry.
I like.
He's got all the talent. I think he's got all the talent. I think he is an incredibly good wide receiver that just doesn't have the play, doesn't have the offense, and doesn't have the right quarterbacks to throw to him. And it hurts his value. It caps him.
It does. It does. It does. And Raheed Shaheed is also he's a nice wide receiver, man.
He is, but he was
ball threat. And he was mainly a Derek Carr guy.
Yeah.
So it is interesting to see how he might do with this new QB room, but yeah.
If these quarterbacks can't throw down the field, he's going to be like Thanos snapped into the void. He's going to be completely forgotten about.
Yeah.
Unless he can add some like new dimensions to his game.
Mm-hmm.
And the only other person sort of worth talking about, I guess, within this offense is Juwan Johnson, who I've never been a big fan. I know there's some people that really like Juwan Johnson. They're like, oh, this is going to be his year. This is going to be his time. But I've never really bought into that.
Yeah. Me neither. I don't know. I don't even really have much to say on Juwan. Like, it's always been, I mean, Juwan's mainly been the tight end, and then they've also had who's that other guy?
Oh, I can't remember when they had Jimmy Graham.
Yes.
He like retired this year.
That was the best time for tight ends they had ever.
Yeah. But
dude, no, who's that guy though?
I honestly have no idea. I think the only thing with Juwan Johnson is he'll be in your waiver wire. So if he starts showing some big play potential, if he starts looking good, maybe pick him up on your waiver wire. Otherwise, it's not looking pretty for this whole team. This is going to be like a bottom of the barrel offense. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Kellen Moore can make him like what the Cardinals were in a couple years ago, where it's like, oh, they're actually like really competitive and they're not great, but they're not terrible. Because we've seen that a few times in the NFL, but things are not looking up. Fantasy wise, stay away from this football team.
Yeah. And real quick, I was thinking of Taysom Hill, by the way,
Oh no.
who is, and the reason I was like trying to look him up, like, 'cause
I
forgot his
totally
name.
forgot about Taysom Hill until you mentioned it.
But dude, they have him listed as QB too. Not even a tight end, just because he plays all those different roles. He's an anomaly, but yeah,
He's not
I
a
don't
tight
know.
end.
He is a tight end,
But he's not.
but he's
though.
not. Yeah, I
But
see
he's
what you're saying.
not though. That's
Yeah.
the point.
Yeah, he's not.
They just listed him as tight end because they have no idea what else to put him at. I mean, it's a new coach, it's a new system. Don't rely on the fact that they're going to use Taysom Hill the same way.
Yeah.
And that's kind of it.
Yep.
That is the end of the NFC South there. It's an interesting division. It's got a lot of upside in certain areas if you know where to look. Some good high up quarterbacks, a lot of receiving talent. And I think that's a good place to stop at.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
It's been a fun episode. We have one more to go in this series.
We only have one more division. We have the NFC West. That will be our final division before we get on a bit more of a schedule, because then preseason comes up and then the regular season comes up and then we're just in the thick of it and it's just going to be great. It's just going to be great.
Yep.
But on that end, I want to say thank you to anybody listening, because this is going to be the end of our episodes. Make sure to stay simple or something like that. Is that good? Make sure to stay simple or something like that. Yeah.
That's good, bro.
Yeah. We'll workshop.
Or
We'll continue to
something like
workshop. We'll figure something out.
Yeah.
But until next time, thank you so much. Actually, before we go, we actually got a nice little soundbite here. We managed to find a nice little NFL player, good old Peyton Manning.
Oh,
Big
yeah.
fan of the pod, well-known fan of the pod, Peyton Manning.
That's right. How could I forget about that?
We call him the P-Man.
Mhm.
P-Man for short. And he sent us this little message.
Please, I'm begging you. Please, I'm desperate. I don't know what to do. Please subscribe.
All right, and that's our show. Thank you so much
heard
for
it here
listening. You heard it here first. P-Man said to subscribe to us. Long time fan of the show, Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
We'll see all you guys next time.
See you guys.
Dude, we spent so much money to get Peyton Manning to do that.
Dude, I know.
Dude, I'm going to need a new job.
Oh my gosh.
I lost thousands.